We have three key North Stars at Alpine. One is to be the #1 performing private equity firm in the world. The second is to be the best place to work for the top people. And the third is to be a force for good.
We are proud to recognize Alpine Investors as BluWave's 2025 Private Equity Innovator of the Year. Alpine Investors represents the cutting edge of private equity by putting people at the center of everything they do. Their people-first approach is not just a philosophy, it's the foundation of their success. They combine this focus with innovation throughout their processes, managing the business of private equity like a business, pursuing proactive due diligence designed to inform transformative value creation, and partnering with portfolio companies to drive growth with remarkable speed and precision. At the same time, Alpine remains deeply committed to corporate citizenship, proving that boosting investment returns and making a meaningful impact in the world can go hand in hand. To better understand what makes Alpine Investors so innovative, we visited their San Francisco headquarters and spoke with founder and CEO Graham Weaver, principal Jacob Zodikoff, and Chief Talent Officer Tali Anderman. Together, they share more about how Alpine Investors is transforming private equity through its people-first approach and beyond. Here's what the Alpine team had to say.
Let's jump in. I always like to start these by understanding a bit of the origin story. Can you share a little bit more about what your inspiration was for founding Alpine Investors and how your vision started at the onset?
Right out of undergrad, I went to Wall Street, as a lot of people do, and I worked on Wall Street. It was very different than what I thought. And I come out of school and I'm ready to run through walls and take over the world. And I ran into this brick wall where I felt like I was using 2% of my capacity. I'm building a financial model for 100 hours, worked on 0 deals that closed, and the culture was just pretty brutal. And I remember just thinking what a disappointment that was for me, but also for the firm that hired me, who was getting so little of what I had to offer. So I really wanted initially to start a firm where the very, very best people coming out of school wanting to run through walls could go do that and express themselves a lot more fully, have a lot more empowerment, and build a culture where they'd want to be at that firm for a long period of time. So that was my initial inspiration.
What does it mean to you in terms of being innovative in private equity, and how have you instilled that into your organization?
Well, first off, we have 7 core values at Alpine, and one of them is innovation, literally. So it is something that's really important. And the way that we prioritize innovation is we actually schedule it. We put it on the calendar, and we have anywhere from 2 to 4 continuous improvement projects that we do every single quarter, where we take a cross-functional team to work on a big problem. They spend an entire quarter trying to solve that problem. At the end of that quarter, we implement that, and that becomes a solution that we use, for forever going forward. Over the course of the time that we've been doing this, I think we've done over 100 of these innovation projects. And when you start stacking those on top of each other, the firm overall becomes really innovative. I don't think it's like this ephemeral thing that you can't describe. I think it's something that not only can be scheduled, but in our case has to be scheduled. Otherwise, you'll always just work on the urgent, the latest deal, and you won't be planting those seeds of oak trees. I think for us, our greatness has really come from spending the time planting those oak trees.
Alpine Investors is very well known for your people-first approach. What does that mean in practice, and how does that play out in the way that you run your firm itself?
Well, a long time ago, we did an analysis of all of our deals. We looked at industry, purchase price, leverage multiple, growth rate, everything. And the most highly correlated factor to success was the quality of the management team, which was not what we were expecting to find. Today, we build our entire strategy around people. And so people first is really a double entendre. It means people first, meaning it's the #1 priority, but also sequentially in our deal process, people come first. So we hire a team first, and then we go and find the industry, and then we go and find the company.
So Jacob, how would you describe Alpine's approach to due diligence?
Once we have the market identified, once we have the team in place, we talk to a lot of companies. We don't try to do just desktop research or use third-party research. We very much go and talk to the people operating in that market. And that really informs how we approach the market. What are the actual opportunities? What are the actual challenges that people in that market are facing and that we can help with? And we do that with hundreds and hundreds of companies before we ever make that first investment. So with the team, with the market, and with actually talking to a bunch of businesses out there, we think we're really proactive in how we approach things.
I love that approach. It comes from first knowing that at the end of the day, every business, it's the people who matter most. And you're bringing those people with the best powers possible to the opportunities. And then you're spending the time to say, where do we want to play? And then let's know it intimately. If you get those two things right, it's really hard. But if you do, it sets you up for success, undoubtedly.
Part of that proactive due diligence also sets us up for how are we actually going to add value and build a value creation playbook in that space. The benefit of using our sourcing team and our team internally to talk to hundreds of companies before we ever make an investment is we can find what company over here is doing really, really well, match it with what the other company over here does really well, but is very different. And we can create this collection of, hey, here's the best way to provide value to customers, to provide value to employees, to really take care of an opportunity in that market up front. We have functional experts within Alpine that help us really get to know the space, really get to understand what makes certain businesses special. And then we connect it all to make one proactive value creation playbook for that market.
Let's talk further about how your people-first philosophy translates into your value creation phase.
Our people-first philosophy is really at the heart of everything that we do. It is a philosophy in that it represents our values and how we like to partner with companies, but it's also a core part of our strategy. And I mean that in a couple specific ways. The first is that we hire people first, literally. So we hire our CEOs before we know what businesses they're well positioned to lead. And we actually build out entire management teams first and then pair them with the business we think they will be best positioned to drive growth. People First is also our playbook, we call it the People First Leadership Program, for creating engaged and purpose-driven cultures.
Tell us more about your Alpine Operations Group.
The mission of the Alpine Operations Group is really to create a growth flywheel. This is where we build world-class management teams and then enable those teams with Alpine's playbook. There are a few innovations within Alpine's playbook that we're most proud of. The first is talent. It's probably no surprise that that's a huge part of Alpine's strategy. We have 15 full-time employees just on the talent team. And a portion of those employees do a more traditional executive search function where we're finding really experienced leaders to fit needs within our portfolio. But we have a whole nother team who are dedicated to what we call our talent programs. And this is perhaps one of our most innovative approaches to talent. This is a model where we take leaders who have really strong attributes, but may not have the typical resume experience for a role. We hire them and then we invest a ton of time in developing them and giving them an experience that allows them to unleash their full potential. Within those talent programs, we have something called the CEO in Training program. We also have an Investor in Residence program, a Chief Financial Officer program, and a Chief People Officer program, with other programs that we are in the process of innovating and incubating right now. The CEO in Training program is one of our kind of flagship programs. This was started almost 10 years ago and has now grown to be a program with over 160 alumni and current members and over 60 CEOs that we've created through that program. The leaders that come into that program are from a variety of backgrounds. We have a Black Hawk pilot, we have a former teacher from TFA, we have people from the technology industry, from finance, and from consulting. What's consistent across all of them are core attributes we've seen to be really important to the success of leaders. And then we enable them with really deep training in things like finance, go-to-market, and how to ultimately exit a business. Across all of these talent programs, we've placed over 200 leaders into Alpine's portfolio, including 130 who are from these specific talent programs. We've seen these talent programs to really work, and they really help us unleash the potential of a diversity of leaders, including we have 70 leaders from those programs who are women, 50 who identify as BIPOC, and then within the CEO and Training program in particular, we have 50 women and 45 leaders who identify as BIPOC. So something we're really proud of and excited to continue to grow within our portfolio.
So, Graham, one of the things that's, I think, very rapidly evolving in private equity is this understanding that private equity is not only good for investors, but it's also more broadly good for stakeholders at large. How does Alpine think about these concepts and act on them?
The program that we do, we put our own leadership team in place and we measure employee net promoter score, meaning how happy employees are basically every quarter at every company. And that's a key metric that we use to measure and compensate our leadership teams. And we've been able to have a massive impact on employee engagement and employee net promoter score at those, among those 38,000 people. And so I think that's really changing those people's lives, because they're they're spending half their hours now in a place that they're excited about. They know, they have meaning. They know how what they're doing makes an impact. And it's also in line with just building great businesses too.
If you could leave one impression on business owners about what it's like to work with Alpine, what would that be?
I would say that they've spent their whole lives and career building this company, and we're going to carry on their legacy and make them really, really proud of the chapter that is going to happen once they sell it to Alpine.
We truly are like the best home for their people, for their businesses, for their legacies. And we really pride ourselves on that. We want to approach everything recognizing that this is a very delicate decision and a really big decision for any business owner on who to sell their business to.
We always want to lead with humility and to really see this as a partnership. And then we start by seeking to understand. That's our people first process.
Graham, let's turn the lens forward. As you think about the future of Alpine, you think about the next 10 years, where do you see Alpine going, both in the context of where private equity is going, but also your vision for the firm overall?
We're building a 100-year firm, a firm that's going to outlast everyone who works here now. And I can't predict what private equity is going to look like in 100 years. I'm not even sure I could predict what it's going to look like in 5. But what I can say is that I think the principles we use today will continue to be the core principles throughout that time, which is spend a lot of time really investing in innovation and planting the seeds of oak trees today that will yield shade in the future. I think we'll continue to always be centered around talent as the most important factor at our firm and our portfolio companies. And the third is investing in Alpine as the most important portfolio company that we have. So I think if we continue with those principles, Alpine will be really successful for the next 100 years.